to what he is. Armed himself shots. Shots, watch it, tear gas. Live rounds. Also, I can see that.
Just look where done!
The man is a boxer, man. Why can't I put in the boxer, man, to do that?
But since Mike wasn't there, no, you come on the East Coast.
You listen to me.
Right? No, you come on the East Coast.
You listen to me now.
You gotta listen to me too, man.
I am listening to
Right?
you.
Now, I see you on the East Coast. The day when they get a protest of them, the next day, that's when you see one bigger heads come up to talk to my family. Right? And that's bad. If we didn't do a protest, we want to see nobody for justice. You see? I'm not holding back nothing. I'm not holding back nothing. I just need justice for my family.
If you hear that, black is beautiful. Santa Claus. Black is beautiful. It's a textile. Lift your head like me. You got to wear it for with dignity. How it born out. Black is beautiful. I said, sing it along. Black is beautiful. Say, I'm black and proud. It's high time that we get rid of that old slave mentality.
You know, people ask me all the time, why do you do this? Why do you not retire and read books and write fancy academic papers? And I say, yes, that is also important. But what is more important is that I was given an opportunity to read books in the first place, to engage with ideas because of the sacrifices of ordinary. And so part of scholarship must be given back to the people in the form of public engagement. If myself was a public scholar, what we call an activist scholar or a scholar activist, who's always trying to use the knowledge that is gained from reading books, from observing people in their communities, in their society, and giving them back, in the words of a UC Guyana, giving them back to the people as a political nourishment and by extension, cultural nourishment. That's what I'm about. It's about being that public scholar whose work is not just confined to the classroom, but that classroom is extended to the public space.
One race from the same place that make the same trip on the same ship. So we must push one common intention. It's for a better life in the region, for we women and we children. That must be the ambition of the Caribbean and the Caribbean and the Caribbean.
If you hear that, black is beautiful. Santa Claus. Black is beautiful. It's a textile. Lift your head like me. You got to wear it for with dignity. How it born out. Black is beautiful. I said, sing it along. Black is beautiful. Say, I'm black and proud. It's high time that we get rid of that old slave mentality.
And a very, very good evening to you, and welcome to Politics 101. Black is beautiful. Black is beautiful. It's beautiful because it is part of the human tapestry. And the human tapestry is very, very beautiful. The human spirit is beautiful. Whatever our faults, the human species is beautiful. And if blackness is part of the human species, then black is beautiful too. From black power to black emancipation, or from black emancipation to black power, to Black Lives Matter. The battle cry has always been a cry against those who believe that some of us cannot exist in a state of freedom, that some people believe that some of us are dangerous, that some people believe that when some say some things and we say the same thing, the meanings are different. They believe that we cannot exist in a state of freedom. The Guyana Police Force was founded in 1839. Africans walked through the gates of the plantation in 1838. The police force in the then British Guyana was created to police the African, because the then colonial society was threatened by African freedom. The present regime in Guyana invokes the police power, directs the police at every twist and turn in 2020, because they hold fast to the creed that the police force in our country was created to police African freedom. As we watch today, a black man in uniform stoop to the ground not to worship God, but to remove the shackles from the feet of another black man in 2020. Good evening. I come to you with all of me tonight. I come to you tonight once again to inspire you to become righteously indignant and to continue to do something, about the shackles that are on our feet. That shackle was there today for all to see on the feet of Takuma Ogunse on the eve of Easter. Shameless people have no understanding of the significance of what they do. Martin Carter said, tigers don't think, nor toads, nor rooting swine, only man. Just listen and you will know. Oh, in 1953, he said, in South Africa, they drink the blood of black women. In Malaysia, the hero is hunted and shot like a dog. Here in British Guyana, they watch us and lick their tongues like beasts who crouch to prey upon some little child. But I warn them. I warn them like a tide from the heart of things. Inexorably and inevitably, a day will come. And when that day comes, I shall come alive again and laugh again and walk out of that prison. That poem by Martin Carter is simply titled Letter 2. There was the letter 1, letter 2, and letter 3, written while he was imprisoned by the British in 1953 for standing up for the freedom and the dignity of Guyanese, for saying no more colonial rule, no more of the dark time. In Guyana today, they drink the blood of black women. Martin Carter wrote that poem 70 years ago, 1953, 70 years ago. He said it then in South Africa, they drink the blood of black women. Today in Guyana, the PPP government drinks the blood of black women, kneel on their backs, spit in their faces, shackle them and put them in lockups, pay them $40,000 and $50,000, and parade them as ornaments at their public rallies. Brother Martin, you were so prophetic. Oh, it was part of the black prophetic, the black prophecy, the black prophetic tradition. In Guyana today, they drink the blood of black women. In Guyana today, the hero is hunted and shot like a dog. Whether that hero is or in Boston or Quindon Bacchus, our beautiful black heroes. Peter Headley, the 13 black men from Haslington, Golden Grove, in the Backless area. Oh, and those two shining stars of number 5 in West Bobis, along with their little friend, Henry Boyce and Harry Singh, their friend who saw when they were sacrificed at the altar of wickedness. Beautiful black boys, beautiful black men. Today, the hero is hunted and shot like a dog. They shot, they hunted, they sent out a wanted bulletin for Takuma Ogunseye, the god of war. They hunted him, and then they shot him like a dog on Friday. But today, he triumphantly walked out of that courtroom, looked them in the eye, and said, I'm going nowhere. In 2020, for what they call attempting to incite racial insight, attempting to encourage racial incitement. They asked the magistrate not to give him bail. They asked the magistrate to keep him in jail. In 2023, they want to lock the black man up. Never to see the light. 2023. That black man, Takuma Ogunseye, he's part of us. All of us. friend and foe. It's all of us Guyanese. And we come here tonight to proclaim the good news that our brother is a political prisoner, but tonight he's sleeping in his own bed. The last 3 nights, thorns of thistles were placed on his head. Shackles were placed on his feet. The attack on the black manhood woman hold her head and cry. Another woman holding her head and cry because her son has been shot down in the street, all because of the system. We live in perilous times. Brother Bob said, no chains around my feet, but still I'm not free. He would have written that in or around 1975, 48 years ago. Brother Bob died in 1981. Were he alive, he would have had to rewrite his songs. Rewrite that song, Concrete Jungle. Heavy chains around my feet. They do not want me to be free. Brother Bob may be buried in his grave, but one of his contemporaries, Jimmy Cliff, is still around. And he wrote in that song, in that album, Wonderful World, Beautiful People, the songs which were the theme songs for that movie. The harder they come, the harder they come. The theme song for that movie, on that album, Wonderful World, Beautiful People. The harder they come, the harder they fall. And I want to repeat that tonight to the PPP. The harder you come, the harder you fall. We are loving people, black people. We are loving people, Guyanese people. We are loving people, Caribbean people. But we are also warriors. We are also warriors for freedom. Warriors for justice. Until this ignoble and unhappy regime that holds our people in Guyana, until this ignoble and unhappy regime that holds our people in Guyana, until we see their backs, there will always be war. We are warriors. I've always been warriors for peace, love, justice. But as beautiful human beings, we respond to war. in ways that shake the four corners of the earth. This PPP regime will continue until its last minute. To watch and to be afraid of his own shadows. That's the way it's gonna be. We are going to make them tremble in their boots every time they hear a black voice bellowing, rising, and speaking to them as a warrior. Whether it's my voice or the voice of another brother or another sister, they will tremble in their boots until the end of their regime. Every time they see a shadow, including their own shadows, they will tremble. That's the way it's going to be. That's the sufferer's way. We claim our dignity. We are not messing with our dignity until the end of their regime. They will respect the black voice. They will respect the voices of the poor and powerless of all skin color. They can speak and prattle because thoughtless minds prattle. But nowhere in the annals of history, wisdom, intellect, fortitude have ever succumbed to prattle. I come here tonight not with papers shuffling to curse anybody. I come here tonight with the Holy Ghost circulating in my inner reaches. I come here tonight with black ancestry. Not with papers shuffling. I come here tonight to tell the truth. I come here tonight to rally those who are in the reaches of my voice, to stand up firmer. To make up your minds that once again the burden of cleansing the filth of dictatorship rests on our backs. The backs of the black and brown sufferers. Oh, Brother Jimmy Cliff says, suffering in the land, suffering in the land. Suffering in the land, our suffering must become not cries of surrender. Our suffering must become the fillip, must become the push for freedom quest. Walk, we gotta walk. We gotta walk down Freedom Street. Walk, we gotta walk down Freedom Street. Freedom Street, Brother David Rudder, in that famous song, 1987. Laventille, here we come. We singing praises to your sons. Guyana, here we come. We singing praises to your holy name. Walk. Max Rubio tells us, walk, walk. We got to walk down Freedom Street. Nobody's going to turn us around now. We are very clear about that. And we're not begging anybody to come to the table anymore. If they want to come, they come. The days of begging are over. I've lost friends. We have lost friends who think that we are too radical, including some radical friends. We'll meet our friends on the other side of the river, on that beautiful shore. And we shall remind them that in the hour when the satanic minds of our nation put up barriers and pillars, and we needed hands to shove them down, some hands were missing. They're lynching Brother McCormack from the Human Rights Association. That brother came to Guyana from another land, and he made Guyana his own and his own. Like Mrs. Jagan did. But just a few weeks ago, they were singing praises to Mrs. Jagan. But another son who made Guyana his own, Mr. McCormack, they're lynching him every day. Every day. Where is Kip Nascimento? Where is his defense of McCormack, a fellow Catholic traveler? They're lynching Red Thread, a group of mostly African and Indian poor women. And their crime is that the founders of the organization were WPA. Today, a coward start to lynch Moses Bagwan, a former leader of the PPP and founder of the WPA, Brother Moses. All he said in yesterday's papers was stop this nonsense of arresting people for racism. That's all Brother Moses said. And they went after him today. What is his crime? He was a founder member of the WPA. Why do they fear the WPA? When the history of this time is written. It will reveal that some of us captured the sentiments of the time. We gave voice to it. We gave substance to it. And so they fear us. I remember my brother, George Hinds, said to UC Guyana years and years ago, brother UC, we won't make any decisions before you come. We'll wait till you come. Brother UC said, George, why? And George said, because you are so wise. When you come, you say just one word and tear down our plans. And Brother UC looked at George and he said, George, I have never beaten a child in all my years of teaching. And George said, Brother UC, you don't have to use the whip. Just one word from you changes everything. The power and the presence of the wise. The wise who are able to capture the sentiments of the people. We don't have guns in our hands. They're trying to put guns in our hands. Throw their guns back to them. We don't want your guns. Why do you fear us? We have no arms, we have no ammunition. We have no army, we have no police. Why a single word from us cause you to quake in your boots? You are not intelligent enough to understand the human essence that flows from our encounters. They didn't teach us to read for 400 years, but by God, once we learn to read again, our voices became that weapon in the night, flashing. Takumogon said, mounted a platform and use words to dramatize the beastly nature of the rulers of today. Some look at its naked words, but my comrades, words are never naked. It is no accident that in that one of those books said in the beginning, there was what? The Word. And you all know the rest. I stopped being a churchman, altar boy. I still go to church. I stopped being an altar boy decades ago. But in the beginning, there was the Word. The Word is never naked. The Word is always beautifully clothed. It can be ugly clothes, but our Word is clothed in the beauty of our inner reaches, coming out, pouring out. The rivers are rumbling tonight because Ogunse is home. The rivers are rumbling not in a violent way. The rivers are rumbling as our drums are rumbling in the far reaches of the Africa of our being, because Takumo Ogunse is home tonight. He's home tonight. They tell him come back on Thursday. And he's going to go back on Thursday. And if they throw anything at him on Thursday, anything else, we will catch it as we must and fling it back to them. My brother, Jimmy Cliff, the harder they come, the harder they fall. Those of you sitting in that library on Olmsted Avenue watching me tonight, I hope you learn a thing or two. Little beautiful brothers and sisters who should be home with their children, you all have them sitting and monitoring David Hines and monitoring brother Duncan, who will come next, and monitoring brother Ben Shepard, monitoring brother Kadaki and brother Rickford Burke. You're sitting in that library instead of being home with your children. But while they make you spy on me, make some good use of it. Understand what you are in the presence of. One cynical writer called our black attire a costume. Didn't do it in his name. He did it in something called the Eyewitness in the Guyana Times. I know who he is. Call my African attire costume. Cowardly attack on Africa and Africans. But I say to him, brother, come out from your hiding place and meet me on Freedom Street, because that's where I walk. This costume shall make you and your friends tremble from now until the last second of your regime. We are no cheap black men. I am not a cheap black man. Rickford Burke is not a cheap black man. And we are going to make it difficult for you to buy other black men for cheap from now on. I'm not threatening anyone, but sometimes you've got to lay it down on the sand. There is life after the PPP. There's life. And the hundreds of you who are talking to me and who I'm talking to tonight, we represent a stern message. Stern message. That we shall fight. And we know we shall win because we have confidence in the victory. Because we have confidence of good over evil. We know we shall win because we are confident of the victory. They say they're coming for me next. As I've asked on this show many times before, how many more times can a man die? That if you kill I today, you can't kill I tomorrow. And no cheap black men. All the cheap black men are expired. All of them are expired. From now on, you shall confront a new black man. Brother, lock in the Harlem Renaissance. Talk about the new Negro. That was 100 years ago. Brothers on the other side. You are confronting a new African in Guyana, thanks to Ogunse. Not the old African. We shall fight it to the very end. Good evening. Welcome to Politics 101. Welcome. Welcome to all of you. Brother Ogunse was charged this morning with attempting. You know, they like attempt, you know. Mr. Mingo was attempting to rig an election. Brother Ogunse was attempting to incite riot. The Obia men will have to turn up in court. I'm going to be there. I'm going to give witness. Because I know what racism is. We're going to fight it out there. We're going to fight it out there. We're going to fight it out there. I want to thank all of you who have sent in your solidarity. All of you who have contributed to the Takuma Ogunse WPA Defense Fund. Oh, from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you. I want to thank our people who have given of their little pennies to witness for freedom for our brother. We want to thank you. We want to thank the lawyers, Brother Nigel Hughes, Brother Darren Wade, and all the other lawyers in the background. We want to thank you. We want to thank you. From the bottom of our heart, we want to thank the opposition leader. Very early this morning before Board Wife Week, he called me and asked me what's happening, what time. And I'm saying this publicly. I'm not into what happens in political parties, but I want to say that brother, whatever his members may think of him and his other members, I don't get into that. But that brother, up until tonight, has been a beacon of hope. Because in this time, when they want to recruit, and I'm saying it because I know they don't want me to say it, at this time when they're recruiting slave catchers, our brother refused to be a slave catcher. Sometimes we black people, we got to be able to maneuver. You all may not like a style of leadership. Some of you all may be frustrated. But when a man stands as a man, when a woman stands up as a woman, lift them up. Don't pull them down. I'm talking to you all tonight. That brother has gone places in the last 2 weeks that some who should have gone places went into hiding. Some of them have called me and begged me, David, show leadership and backpedal. And I tell them the only leadership I will show is to go forward into the night, because I know the rumblings may be heavy tonight, but tomorrow morning, joy cometh. One man who didn't ask me to backpedal, one man who didn't ask me to give 1 inch to the other side. A man who they watch and lick their tongues like beasts, who crouch to prey upon some little child. I was in Atlanta, Georgia with him, And somebody from the audience asked why they're not seeing Nagamutu and Ramjatan. And I went to the microphone and I explained that what we had was an electoral arrangement with Nagamutu and the AFC and Ramjatan. And so therefore, beyond that arrangement, that electoral arrangement, we should not be expecting the brothers to come down onto the streets and fight. And I was moving up, walking up and down. I am sometimes not a disciplined speaker. And so Brother Rickford had to go to his contraptments, his story there, and to turn it to capture me. And one of the thousands that was watching Mr. Barrel Jack deal, he said, David Hines said that all they wanted Nagamutu and Ramjatan for was so they vote. And then Rickford Burke didn't want it to come out, so he went to turn off the microphone. Rickford, we're so glad that we had that brother, and I'm calling him a brother. We had that brother watching us wherever we go. But they're so frightened that every move by you just to fix your camera, they feel that you're going to do something. Good evening, my brother.
Good evening, Dr. Hines. Good evening to the listeners. Thanks for having me.
Did you hear that piece by Jack Dio?
No, I did not.
Yes. He said David Hines let the cat out of the bag and Rickford Burke run quick to try to turn off this.
Oh, wow. Well, Jack Dale makes up things every day, so nobody takes him seriously except his sycophants. Nobody takes Barry Jack Dale seriously anymore. And I think right now he's going crazy. When as you look at him, he looks like a maniac. He's just, I don't know what's going on with him, if he's sick, if he's gotten the writing on the wall, but he just looks possessed.
Brother Rickford, tonight, our brother Ogunsi is sleeping in his own bed. Your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I heard Attorney Nigel Hughes describe the charges, the particulars of the charge, which is that he attempted to incite racial hostility, and a couple of things jumped, and that he was placed on $100,000 bail. And a couple of things jumped out at me. First, Nigel said that the prosecutor asked the judge not to grant him bail because of the seriousness of the offense. And the judge granted him $100,000 bail, which tells me the magistrate thinks that the charge is trash. I mean, $100,000 bail, that's like $500 US. The second thing that jumped out at me is that he's charged with attempting to incite racial hostility. It has to be attempting, Dr. Hines, because if I'm inciting racial hostility, the consequence of my incitement has to be something. Somebody followed something I did, somebody acted upon some request I made or some comment I made and did something that actually was insightful of racial hostility. That didn't happen, so it has to be attempting. And it's a stretch because we know it's nonsense. Also, they said that he said this incitement constituted comments by him that says, if they send you members of the armed forces to shoot at black protesters protesting against racism, turn your guns in the opposite direction. I mean, what is that? That's subject to interpretation. Opposite direction to me means away from the people who are protesting. So then I'm going to court and argue that. And secondly, if he's intended to, as they're proclaiming, that they're interpreting that to mean turn their guns at them, then they're admitting that it's a racist government, an Indian government, because how can I incite racial hostility against people of my own ethnicity or my own race, right? So it means that the PP government, if that's the way they're interpreting what Ogunse said, they're acknowledging that they're a hostile East Indian government. That's what it is, basically.
Rickford Burke here on the evening. Rickford, let's keep on moving. You know, I said 2 nights ago, or maybe last night, I think it's 2 nights ago, you know, my aunt who raised me, because my mother worked very far on the East Bank when we were little kids, and then she migrated. And my aunt Cecilia raised us, and she did many jobs. She sold fruits and so on in front of our house. She sold black pudding on Saturdays. She went down to town and sell fruits, but she also worked as a maid in the kitchen of one of the beautiful families of Buxton of Portuguese descent. They treated her, they were good to her because from that wage, she was able to ensure that we ate. But she was very clear on our mind, the significance of what she was doing. Here was a black woman, she always made that clear, who was only fit to work in the kitchen of others. And she made it very clear to me and Orrin Gordon, who used to be the mayor of Linden. We grew up in the same yard, and we were contemporaries, the same class. And she made it clear to the two of us that you all are going to go to school, and you all are going to get an education, so that you all don't have to work in anybody's kitchen. And I said the other night that if she were alive today, she would have been 106 years old. But she would have been so proud that I stood up here on Saturday night and pointed my finger back in Kit Nascimento's face and dressed him down. The one thing she would have asked me, David, he interfered with you first? And once I said, yes, he interfered with me first, she would say, let him have the length of your tongue. Give it to him. She would have been so proud. Here is a man, and you describe him wonderfully, and I let you describe him, I won't repeat. Must be aware of what he means in the Guyana cook-up, and what you, Ogunse, and I mean in the Guyana cook-up. And then he describes us as dangerous men. My aunt, Cecilia, would have gone berserk to hear that man describe her son as a dangerous man. Rickford Burke, talk to this big, wonderful...
Well, the first thing that jumped out at me at what Kit Nascimento said is that Ogunse's statement that Ogunse proposed that our security forces turn their guns against the duly elected government to support a mass uprising to overthrow the government. What nonsense is that? I mean, it is unbelievable that a man like Kit Nascimento, who's worked in government, who practices communications, can make up some nonsense like that from somebody saying, when they send you to shoot at us for protesting against racism, turn your guns in the opposite direction. Like, how could he arrive at this outlandish conclusion that a man is saying overthrow the government by force and that the armed forces must do it? So that's the first set of nonsense he said. But then he went on to say that we every day preach race hate and we practice the most despicable form of racial animosity, division and confrontation in a multiracial society. We're dangerous men. Now, Kit Nascimento is Portuguese from Madeira, he has said. My grandfather's foreparents are also from Madeira, so I am not disparaging people from Madeira. But there are certain arguments people like Kit Nascimento must not get involved in, because his foreparents in Madeira were slave owners. He's from Madeira. They were slave owners there. They enslaved black people from Africa, particularly Ghana and those other countries. And then for him to say that those of us who are advocating for racial parity, for justice, we are troublemakers and we are hate mongers and we're peddling hatred,
dangerous men.
And then we're dangerous men. It comes right out of the slave owners' playbook. That's how they saw slaves who spoke up against their enslavement. And so I had to tell him that he's a relic and he should not be at 110 or how much he is. I'm just joking, he might be 90 something. He should be off the scene. He should be apologizing for slavery because his foreparents were slave owners that mistreated, humiliated people. Kamala Harris went to Ghana 2 weeks ago and cried at the place where they captured and sold slaves, traded us like cattle and dogs and fruits. That, you know, and in the moment of this happening, the descendant of slave owners, Kit Nascimento, is telling Black people who are fighting for racial justice, fighting against racism and racial discrimination, that our advocacy for justice and civil rights is dangerous. And you know, those words alone tell me that he's a relic from the colonial past. He's irrelevant to what is happening now. I'm wondering why you and I and Shara Duncan and Mark Benchcop and Aubrey Norton, everybody else, why are we talking about racism? Why are we being dangerous, as they say? Why is Takuma Ugonse saying what he's saying? Is anybody in the PPP thinking about that? Aren't we describing conditions of Black people in Guyana? And so why doesn't Mr. Nascimento, I understand he's an advisor to Finale, so he's acting on their behalf. Why doesn't he go to his president that he said was duly elected when we know they were installed? Why doesn't he go to that president and said something is going on in the country? He's asking, where is Guyana going? Well, ask the PPP. They're taking it there. They're taking us back to slavery, back to where Kit Nascimento ancestors had us. So ask the PPP, why are they taking the country there? Why it is that we're speaking out? We're not madmen. He said we're educated men. Yes, we are. So why are we speaking out? Are we making these things up? Why are we talking about racial injustice? Why are we talking about the economic genocide that they're committing against Black people? It is because it's factual. It is because these conditions exist. Just look at the government contracts. Just look at how the police are treating Black people. The police is trying to implement racial supremacy on behalf of the PPP. That's what they're doing. When Barrett Jagdale said that the people in the army, the Black people in the army, are kicked down the door criminals, and the Indians must elect the PPP to protect them from the kick down the door bandits in the army. Where was Kit Nascimento? Where was Kit Nascimento when Barrett Jagdale told David Granger that there will be no peace in Guyana? Wasn't that sedition? Was he charged? Where was Kit Nascimento when Barrett Jagdale told their East Indian supporters to chase out the Black president out of their villages? Where was he? So is this East Indian supremacy for real? Only East Indians have freedom of speech and can say those things? What about when we speak? Oh, you'll send the police over those Black slaves. You know, they have no freedom. That's the PPP's and Kit Nascimento's posture. And we're not going to take it anymore. We will speak out. And Kit Nascimento, as a relic of past slave owners, should shut up and stay out of this conversation unless he wants to apologize to slavery.
Rickford Burke, spitting it out here tonight, you know.
Good to power.
One sister, one of my warrior sisters from the WPA, called me after she read Kit's. David, you read Kit Nascimento? I said, yes. She said, you, the political scientist, you know how to answer. I want to tell you one thing. He is protecting the few, and you are defending the dignity of the many. I said it right before the last. I'm going to say it again. Kit Nascimento, hear this little Black boy. Hear me out. You are defending the few gangsters. But I, David Hines, and I can speak for Rickford Burke and Ogunse, we are defending the dignity of the many. You don't buy that in the shop, Kit. You don't have to buy anything from the shop. You are a descendant of a business dynasty who got affirmative action dating back to the 19th century. I know this story. Kit, this little black boy from Buxton, this little black boy know the story of your privilege, Kit. And I don't want to take your privilege away, Kit. What I want is for you to get out of the way so that black people and brown people and poor people can get their due privilege, their just reward in a Guyana, just like you. That's all I'm asking, Kit. And when you come after me and Burke and Ogunse, you are ungrateful because your privilege was earned on the backs of all our state of underprivilegedness. Tell the children the truth, Bob Marley said. I'm telling the children the truth tonight, kid. You look at 3 black men and something boils in you. Their voices should not ring out in the open air in Guyana. But whether you like it or not, these voices are going to ring out, and for the rest of your life, you shall hear them. I love you, brother. I had a few chats with you here and there. I think the last time we were crossing at an airport, might have been Piarco Airport in Trinidad, and we exchanged a couple of pleasantries. My politics is not against the individual. My politics are always against the powerful and what they represent. So I think you're a wonderful brother. I read you when I was a young boy coming up, and you wrote we didn't share the same political, and I know, Brother Kit, you were a radical in the 60s, and I love that because I'm a radical too. You were radical in 1964, Kit. I love you because of that. I'm taking a page from your book. Your leader, who I think is a blood relative of yours, said to the PPP, which you are defending today, he said to them, I shall oppose you, expose you, and depose you. Your uncle, Peter DeGar, said that to Dr. Jagan and the PPP in 1964. The PPP that you don't want Hines, Ogunse, and Rickford Burke to expose, oppose, and ultimately depose. We are carrying out the sentiments and the wishes of Peter DeGar, your ideological and blood family. You should be proud of us, Kit. You should be proud of us. But no, we are little black boys. And that is stuck in your political throat. When bones stick at your throat, they slap you on your back. Bye. Let us slap it on your back so the bone come out. Because you gotta deal with these little black boys. Gotta deal with us. I'm on fire tonight because we are on fire. My brother Rickford Burke. Talk to us.
Well, I'm glad you said that he was a radical because, like I said, I don't know, I wasn't around then, but my grandfather told me that he was accused or it was alleged that he was planting bombs around Georgetown and attacking PPP supporters. So he is the one that allegedly perpetrated acts of terror against East Indians. We're not violently attacking people and throwing bombs at people. Kit Nascimento allegedly did. Not only that, he was a spy for the Americans. How unpatriotic could that be? Kit Nascimento, based on my grandfather, and based on documentation I've seen, the American government acknowledged that Kit Nascimento was an informant. A spy, he was right up on the Burnham as Minister of Spare Parts. And he was spying on Burnham. How patriotic could that be? And then he came up from a history of bombing the PPP or their supporters or whatever, infrastructure, whatever around Georgetown that he thought was important and necessary and critical to depose the same PPP he's defending now. So Kit Nascimento is a retired terrorist. He's a relic of the colonial past, and he should, as you say, get out of the way and let Black people fight for equality and equal rights and justice. You know, one thing he also said that caught my attention. The man said that for the great majority of Guyanese, whether our native indigenous people or those of us who were transferred by the British to make a colony from Africa. The man is even denying slavery, Dr. Hines. The man said that his foreparents didn't drag us as slaves, kidnap us from Africa. We were merely transferred. So listen to this this fossil. Listen to this fossil. He's coming back from his frozen mindset that he inherited from his descendants who were slave owners to tell us that, hey, we did not kidnap you. We basically took you from where you were and transferred you and your people. In the meanwhile, millions were killed, beaten, bloodshed. And this degenerate, it is now telling us that we were transferred, denying slavery, denying the horror, the world's most vicious atrocity committed against people of African descent. He's denying us we were transferred. Kit Nascimento should go and rock himself into banishment because he's a disgrace if he is now going to try to rewrite history, to describe slavery as something that was a choice that Black people took.
My brother, Rickford Burke, saying it here tonight. You know, sometimes we have to speak the truth in the open space. They're attacking Mike McCormack of the GHRE. They're attacking Red Thread. They're now attacking Moses Bagwan. They attack Anand Gulsaran. They're attacking Christopher Ram. Everyone was stood up. They're attacking Glenn Lyle. They're attacking anyone who says anything about them. You cannot say anything in Guyana. And I want to tell them, if Walter Rodney were alive today, they would have locked him up. Because in 1979, Walter Rodney says, this regime must go, and it must go by any means necessary. He would have been locked up, the Walter Rodney that they pretend to love. They would have locked his ass up before they lock up Ogunse. I just want to let them know that these people are of another species. They've sold, I heard they sell human organs. They've sold their human organs because they have no humanity, not 1 ounce of humanity. In 2023, you're going to shackle a Black man
and describe him as a Negro. And describe him as a Negro.
Yes. And then call him a Negro.
Yes.
Lawyer to say he's an African. And then you have another African in uniform bending and removing the shackles. My God, Rickford Burke, my blackness cannot take it. These people, oh, they gotta go. They've got to go. The worst insult on Black people, shackle a Black man, call him a Negro, and then get another Black man to remove that shackle. This is beyond confounded nonsense.
And Dr. Hines, I don't think that is by mistake. I think the government deliberately asked the police to do that. I think they deliberately asked the police to describe him as a Negro. I think they deliberately asked the police to shackle him because they want to portray him as a slave, because these people think that they're slave owners. I've been saying to people that the PUP is operating like they're the new plantocracy. They literally see Guyana as a plantation where they're the rulers and black people are the slaves. And that's what they're doing. Every policy, every practice that they implement is geared towards making black people slaves. And then you have Kit Nascimento, and that's why I was so angry at him. Then you have Kit Nascimento coming to us telling us that we're indulging in hate speech when we describe the conditions of black people. I challenge anybody in the PPP or anywhere else to bring one sentence of hate speech from me. What we do is advocate against racism. And in advocating against racism, we describe the conditions of racial discrimination that black people face. That's not hate speech. That is describing racism. And it's an advocacy against racism and an advocacy for equality and justice. So if Kit Nascimento and the PPP are telling us that our advocacy for justice and economic parity and equal rights is tantamount to hate speech, they're telling us that we are not a free people. Because under slavery, speaking out against your conditions was a crime. It was a crime. And that's what they're implementing again. And then I want to see how they're going to prove this case against Tukumu Ugonsi. Because, as you said, it's now illegal to speak out in Guyana. It's now unconstitutional to speak out against the PPP. And they're even reaching into the United States to attack me. I understand that they send the police all around Guyana to get people to sign stuff, framing me, saying that I libeled them or committed whatever. I'm all the way in the United States. I'm not sure what they intend to do with these statements that they're getting from people all around Guyana. My sources in the Guyana Police Force send me a photograph of a file they have with my name on it that is thick like this. And I have not even lived in the country. But what the PPP strategy is, they want to criminalize me because they think I have too much influence in the United States and too much influence in Guyana. Well, I dare them. Dr. Hines, they say they're going to come and extradite me. I dare them. Let them come. They even send the Attorney General in this country to advocate to the people that I must be killed. I must be eliminated. I must be stopped. I must be killed. And if the NYPD can't kill me, they propose a hitman to kill me. Well, I dare to have them come, because their world will change when that happens. Whenever the PPP execute, and yes, that's a promise, whenever they execute their plan to kill me, I can guarantee them that their world will change.
Kill I today, you can't kill I tomorrow. I want to thank all of you. We are going to do it in a more formal way. Thank all of you who have thus far contributed to the Tukumu Ugonsi Defense Fund. The particulars are on the screen. The Cash App handle is there, the PayPal handle, and the PayPal handle is the same handle that is used for Zelle, because many people prefer Zelle. It's on the screen there, dhines6106@aol.com. And those of you who use the phone number, you can call me, or not call me, but inbox me the phone number if you get on the Zelle via phone number. Thank you all so very much for your generous support thus far. And those of you who have not yet done so, please do. We have to develop the culture in our community that we must not depend on others whenever we are in a struggle. We must not depend on others. And we mean here, at the end of this day, at the end of the day, when we drive these relics, I'm using my brothers, when my brothers were there tonight, when we drive these relics, you will say with pride, I made my contribution. I may not have been there on the streets. I may not have been in the lockups as Tukumu, but I made my contribution. Please do make your contribution. And when you do so in the privacy of your home and your heart, nobody can take that away from you. You know what happened with tyrants? They went all sniffing around Buxton since Friday. because they expect Buxtonians to rise. And they're sending the plain clothes sniffing around. But Buxton people, you all know we just do it. You all know we just do it. When the time comes, even the plain clothes would not be able to stand between righteous people and injustice. In Kenya today, the Kenyan president decided that he was going to drop charges against 4 opposition MPs because the people of Kenya went onto the streets for the last couple of weeks and they stayed there and they charged 4 MPs, opposition MPs. And when the people refused to move, they withdrew those charges. And the president has called the opposition leader and said, let's talk. Let's talk and end this thing.
Not Guyana. Not Guyana. They don't believe in talking to black people.
Go ahead. Yes, go ahead, brother.
Yes. No, I have said to people in the PPP, the country is heading for civil war. Obviously, they want that. They're inciting it because they think that they will be able to wipe us out. And I said to them, people are complaining in the villages that their infrastructure, there's nothing happening, there's no development. They're not getting COVID relief, they're not getting flood relief, they have not gotten any relief from the government. The infrastructure is in disrepair. Nothing is happening for them. They're not getting resources from the government. How about if you meet the leaders? And PPP got people in PPP government said, no, they have been elected to govern for their people. They have a mandate. And that to me means they're only going to govern for the East Indian people. And I was talking to another leader in the PPP. And I said, with everybody talking about racism, you guys are complaining, why don't you meet with Dr. Hines? Why don't you meet with the opposition leader? Why don't you meet with the MPs? They said, no, there's no need because we are making up these things. And if we don't want what we call racism, and if we don't want what we call injustice, then the only choice we have is to vote the government out. That's the PPP's policy. I'm not even making this up. A senior member of the government told me that. And we're seeing that that's the attitude of the government. And so what are we supposed to do? Sit down and wait until another opportunity to fight for justice at the ballot box? No, you were elected to, you were installed to govern. You claim that you are elected and you have a mandate. We will force you to govern the country for everybody. We will speak out against your racism. Even if we have to engage in civil disobedience, and I'm not on the ground, but we'll do it from here. We'll go to the embassies and we'll go to the consulates and we will demonstrate our disgust at the racism in Guyana. We must have change. We can't have a government running the country only for one ethnicity and telling us, if you don't like it, go and vote me out at the next elections. No. We're not going to do that. We're not going to wait for that. We want justice. We want equality. We don't want to have a problem with the East Indian community. We respect our East Indian brothers and sisters. We're not saying all East Indians are racist. We're saying the ones who run in the PPP are racist. We're not saying all Portuguese are racist, but we're saying Kit Nascimento is a racist and he's disrespectful to black people. And we're saying that we want an environment where everybody is equal in Guyana. We want an environment where there's equal opportunity, equal protection under the law, equality, 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 racial justice. That's what we want. That's what we're talking. What is wrong with the government pursuing that part? What is wrong with the government talking to us? What is wrong with the government talking to the opposition leader? These guys are even defying the Constitution that mandates them to engage and consult with the opposition. Why they don't want to do it? The opposition represents black people. They're contemptuous of us. They think we're second-class citizens. They want to impose East Indian ethnic supremacy in Guyana, and Guyanese must not allow them to do it.
Brother Rickford Barker, tonight we've been chatting about what's developing in our country. What we do know is Brother Ogunse was charged for attempting to incite racial whatever it is.
Hostility.
Hostility. Attempting to incite racial hostility. They try to deny that brother his liberty by asking the magistrate not to give him bail. The magistrate gave him bail of $100,000, and he's now at home tonight, ready tomorrow to get up and to restart from where he left off, to start back from where he left off, and all because of you. And for those who thought, Jack Dio said, charge them, and then when you see you charge them, they will retreat. Jack Dio, you don't know a thing. You don't know a thing about real warriors. You don't know a thing about real warriors. We come from a different stock, brother. We are not walking back 1 inch, and we are going.
But Dr. Hines, can you stick a pin right there? If he's saying charge them for them to retreat politically, it's a demonstration that he's using the police for political purposes. He's not saying charge them because they broke the law. No. Charge them because he wants them to retreat from calling us racist. That's it. That's how they're using the criminal justice system and the police force. There you are. He's acknowledging it.
Yeah. And so here we are. Tomorrow night we come again. We come again tomorrow night. Because tomorrow night is another night. Tomorrow is another day closer to the end of these people. We've had enough. We've had enough. We've had enough. If you want to put shackles on a black man's foot in 2023, if you want to throw black people into the inner reaches of your stinking jails, if that is what we deserve, oh no, Jamaicans say, no way, sir. Oh no, sir. No, sir. No way, Jack Dio. We're not giving up. We have already put out a wanted bulletin for you, and we're going to try you every night, every day in the public space. Mark Benchop and Rickford Burke. Shara Duncan and Kidaki Amsterdam. They're going to be the panel of judges. The jury shall be these people who come here every night. And then we find you all guilty. We're not going to put you all in jails, because if you put you all in jail, you all will be away and we will forget you all. We can make you ornaments in the public space where the people can watch you all. Some may want to spit back on you all like you all did to that woman Ballers. Should I stop them? I don't know. I don't know. My auntie, the first thing she would have asked me, David, you interfere with Mr. Nascimento first? And once I tell she, no, auntie, me and interfere with a man. Thank you very much, my brother. Thank you very much, my brother.
Thank you very much. Have a good night, everybody. Good night. Thanks for having me.
Right. And to you, our listeners, I really do love you. We do really love you. And we thank all of you for contributing to the Defense Fund. Those who have not done so, please do so. And tomorrow night, we come again. We come again to continue the trial of these scoundrels, these haters, these people who've sold their human organs and are bereft of humanity. We got them. We got them where they don't want to be. We would prefer that we sit in a government, a power-sharing government, all of us, the representatives of the people, and govern Guyana. But they said no. They want to govern. And they want, in the process of governing, to crush the spirit of Kofi's children. No way. No way. No way.